I've been very lucky. I've had quite a few people actually. But the one person I really want to point out is somebody called Dr. Margaret Hayford. And we met when I was working at Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital, and she was a trustee on their charity board. She went to Oxford at a time when, it was really rare for a person of colour to go to Oxford. So she was a trailblazer, and she's had an absolutely phenomenal career. I mean, at the height of her career, she was a partner at a leading law firm, and she went on to become the Director of Legal Services and the Company Secretary at John Lewis Partnership. She started mentoring me when we were both at Great Ormond Street. So we both moved on, but we've kept in touch. She's actually now retired, but however, she still does a lot. She is the chair of the Shakespeare Trust. And she is also the Chancellor at Coventry University. And she does many other kind of non-exec type roles. She was also awarded a CBE in 2018, and that was for her charitable work and her work on diversity. She is, I would say, she's an absolutely phenomenal woman of colour, and she's really inspirational. The thing I really took away from working with Margaret was that, you don't always have to shout loud to get what you want. She's a very, very unassuming, very calm and measured, but she's really self-assured, and when she speaks, people listen. Okay, so I think credibility and integrity, really important. A lot of my role is about advising people, either things they should be doing or things that they can't do. So it's really important that my advice is credible and that I can earn people's trust. And in terms of integrity, again, I think there are occasions when a role like mine, you have to tell people that you can't do something, and people who are senior than you. And it has been able to, in that space, to hold your ground. Even though you might be, you might feel like you need to do the opposite because they're much more senior than you. It's been able to kind of say, look, this is really important and I'm not going to give up my integrity for it. Those two things. And the other things, I guess, are respect and kindness. I think at one level, we're all human beings, and it's so important, I think, just to be respectful and to be kind to people, even if you're being directional or telling them, you can't do things or you must do something. You need to be kind. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things. It's not a profession. I don't think I really chose this profession in a sense. I kind of stumbled along it on my way. I mean, I qualified as a lawyer first, but what I do is kind of quasi-legal. So as a company secretary, you're there really to ensure that the organisation does the right thing at the right time. And so it's very, very heavily compliance based. The other thing about the role, I guess, is that it can be very varied, particularly at senior level. You can do lots of different things. So you could be advising the board 1 minute, dealing with a very, important legal contract the next, and then you could be dealing with an organisational crisis in the next day or so. And in some of my roles, you kind of act as, I think, the chief exec's right-hand person. So you're kind of like a chief of staff. So you're right in there, at the centre of the organisation, getting involved and working with many people. So I guess that's the other benefit. You work with loads of different people across the organisation. And the final thing I would say is that if you're a governance professional, in the main, you get to work with some really senior professionals very early in your career. So I can remember fairly in my career, sitting around a board table with the great and the good, very green, but just taking it all in. And you learn so much from those interactions, and you just kind of see how individuals come together for a common goal, and they kind of make it work. So I think that's another thing that's really great about the profession. So I think what puts a lot of people off is that when they look at it on face value, particularly when you're quite junior, you what happens is you end up taking loads and loads of minutes. Um, but you get to a stage in your career when you probably don't have to do that anymore, and you've got other people who do that for you. Um, and as I said, it is about being at the centre of the organisation and really getting to grips with things that are going on right across the organisation in different parts, and how you hold that together and how you support the organisation in being a responsible business. I think it's somewhere where people feel a real sense of belonging. So, you feel that you can absolutely be yourself, and actually that you're demonstrably valued as well. I always use the analogy of being invited to the party, but not just being invited to the party, but being allowed to dance. So, yeah, that's what it means to me to be an inclusive workplace. I think people should just start from the premise of that we're all human beings, and whilst we're different, we have so much more in common. Um, and because of that, I think everybody has a duty to have a zero tolerance stance. So if you see something that is clearly wrong, you need to call it out and do something about it. Because if you don't, you're absolutely being complicit. And I think this is not just about race and ethnicity. I think this is right across the board of all the characteristics. It's really important, I think, if you really want to be an ally, you don't just stand by. And I think a lot of people are really guilty of it because they think, well, that's not my business. And they hear somebody say something or see somebody do something, and they think, well, I'm not going to interfere. But absolutely, if people started calling it out more, I think it would make a real difference.